Thank you, guys. So first of all, thanks to Karan and the team for having me here. It's really cool to be here. When I was in 10th grade, I did not spend my Friday nights at the library. So, you know, for bad reasons. So I'm actually really glad to see so many students here. So with that, actually, maybe I can just kind of get a sense. How many parents in the room? Show of hands. Okay. And students? Okay. Wow. There are a lot of parents in this room. Don't you feel like they're always following you around everywhere that you go? Feel that way, right? My dad used to actually come to my high school every week. I didn't know this until I graduated, but he used to come every week to my school to check on my attendance. Like, he knew the people at my school. He knew the administrators, the secretary, principal, the nurse, way better than I did. I don't know why he knew the nurse well, but he knew a lot of people better than I did. So, okay, so first of all, a lot of parents, so this was interesting. I was sitting up at the front just waiting to get started. And as the presentation headline went up, I hear one of your lovely students, one of your lovely children saying, "What kind of idiot gets fired at McDonald's?" I won't point him out. Oh, it is a he. Of course, only a guy would say that, but I won't point out whose child that was. But it is an interesting story, and I'm excited to share a little bit about it with you guys. So, he's embarrassed. He's embarrassed. That was my plan. All right, so I haven't even started yet. Okay, so what I wanted to do is just share a little bit about how I got here. How I've started 3 businesses. The most recent one I'm really proud of. We just sold my company Involver to Oracle in the summer. So I have my first real boss now. Should actually say it's my second boss because this was my first boss. So Ronald was my first boss. I don't know what it was, but ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to work. I was pretty smart, so my parents made me spend a lot of time studying. I don't know if this rings a bell to anyone, but my parents are immigrants, and so they came to the country, and from the time I was 3 and my sister was born, they put $30 a month away in this college savings plan, and they started doing extra. We started doing extra tutoring after school when I was about 7 or 8, and then they forced me. I was accepted into the International Baccalaureate program when I was 14 or 15. And I was pretty excited about that, but for some reason, I just didn't really feel all there. And so as soon as I was old enough to work, I told my parents that I was going to apply for a job at McDonald's. And I thought it was going to be a really, really cool thing. So before I go any further, for the students in the room, how many of you guys have had part-time jobs? By show of hands? 1, 2, just a few of you guys? So clearly your parents are not working you hard enough. Anybody had a summer job in the summers? Yes? A little more of you? So, sort of? Okay, parents, this is one of my big gripes, and I hope that this presentation does a little bit to bring some insight. You got to make your kids work. Kids have it way too easy. You guys have it way, way too easy, okay? All right. So I got this job at McDonald's, and I was really, really excited about it. I thought it was going to be the cool thing for me to do. And turned out that all I was doing, I don't know if you can see this properly, but all I was doing was stuffing cartons of fries over and over and over and over again, salting them, putting them in this, kind of arranging them, and then putting them onto trays. And I did that hour after hour after hour after hour. It really was not fun at all. And so, about 6 weeks into working at McDonald's, I had the most life-changing event that has hit me since. My manager called me and said that he had something to talk to me about. And he basically said that there was, his expectations were not being met. So his expectations were that I was going to work hard. And my expectations were that I was going to take it easy. And basically, I guess he had seen that I was volunteering to, to do cleanup duty, which basically had me taking a broom and walking outside into the parking lot, picking up cartons from the parking lot, and then sitting down behind the restaurant for about 30 minutes on my phone and calling my friends, and then getting up, coming back into the restaurant, dumping out the garbage that I had collected, going upstairs to the second floor, going into the bathroom. You'll see this is a recurring theme in my life. Going into the bathroom, locking the door, and basically getting onto the phone again for another 30 minutes. And then finally coming down, going for my break. Well, as you can imagine, it did not last for me very long. And so after 6 weeks, I was fired. And it was absolutely devastating. Because if you get fired from McDonald's, it is really, really, really hard to get a job anywhere else. So when Ronald McDonald is unwilling to say a nice thing about you and not willing to give you a reference, it's pretty hard to get a job anywhere else in your city. So basically, my friend and I, this is my friend Hussein, I tried to find a better picture of him, but really of us, but this is from Vegas a few months ago. And Hussein and I were best friends. We knew each other since we were 6 years old. Got into a lot of trouble together. And when I got fired from McDonald's, I was devastated. So he and I began talking, and we decided that I was never, ever, ever going to let that happen to me again. I was never going to let somebody fire me. So I was 15. Hussein and I sat down and we began to scheme. Now, we basically decided that we were going to start a company. So Hussein and I had been messing around with computers since we were really young, and we got this idea because all of our lazy uncles and aunts were calling us up to help them set their computers up. I don't know if this ever happens to the students in the room. Yes? Yeah? You're basically like the 24-hour technical support for your family. So Hussein and I were technical support for everyone. And in Indian families, those families are very, very large. So we ended up providing a lot of technical support. And we started to set up websites for people, and we realized that there was probably an idea here where he and I could set up a business that would make it easier for our family members and other people who had small businesses to get websites up. So Hussein and I began scheming. Now, first problem that we realized was that we could never ever talk about our business to our parents. Because if our parents knew that we were spending any time away from studying, we would have had one choice. It would have either been the belt or the slipper. The belt or the slippers, okay? Now, I'm not going to ask you how many you've had to make that choice in the past, but I can tell you they both really, really hurt. But the slipper is my preference. Now, So we had to decide that we were going to hide this business from our parents. So what we decided to do was call the business under a code name. And that code name was Operation Thundercat. Okay? So anytime we would talk about the business, it would be Operation Thundercat. How is Operation Thundercat doing? Great. Are the servers up for Operation Thundercat? Yes. Sometimes no. A lot of times no. And over the summer, in 10th grade, we designed this site where people could come and in 5 minutes they could set up their own website with templates, and they could set up email, and it was really, really easy. Anybody could do it, even our stupid aunts and uncles. And so they're not here, which is why I can speak so openly about them. I really do love them. And but we could never really talk about the business. So we got the site up, and we hadn't quite launched it. We were calling it Operation Thundercat, and we realized that we needed to set up a bank account because we figured that we were going to make a lot of money. And when we made a lot of money, we needed somewhere to deposit it, obviously. So we went down to the small business registration office, and we went and filled out this form. And after we were done filling it out, we went and stood in line, and we presented it to the clerk at the front, and we said, we're here to register our business. And she looked at us and said, how old are you guys? So we said, well, we're 15. And she said, you have to be at least 18 to register a business. So after all of the work that we had done, setting this website up, hiding it from our parents, calling it Operation Thundercat, our dreams were now crushed. So I started thinking, now, I don't know if you guys could really tell in this picture, but from the name, Hussein was able to grow a beard at the age of 6. So I told Hussein that maybe if he didn't shave for 2 weeks, maybe we could go back down to the small business office again and register the business. So at first he was really, really bad because as a 15-year-old, if you don't shave and you walk around with a beard, it's a little bit embarrassing. If your name is Hussein and you're walking around with a beard, it can be slightly dangerous. So his mom started wondering, like, what the hell is wrong with my kid? Like, why are you not shaving? And so the playoffs were on at the time, so he said it was a playoff beard. He said he was just trying to support his team. And his mom bought it. I don't really know. She just went back into the kitchen and she was always cooking in that kitchen. I don't know what she was doing. She never paid any attention to her son's hygiene. And so Hussein got this beard, and then we went down to the office, and we were both walking in, and Hussein stops me and says, Rahim, you are not walking into this place. So it's many years after, and I don't know if you can tell, you can definitely tell from that picture, like, I still look like I'm 15. So Hussein said that there was no way he was going to put the fate of the business into my hands, and I had to stand outside. So then I'm standing outside, Hussein's inside. I don't know what's happening. I'm on my phone, I'm playing like snakes on my phone, and then 30 minutes go by and Hussein comes out, and he is grinning ear to ear. And nobody asked a question because of his beard. And he was able to successfully register the business as an 18-year-old. So the business lives on another day. So now, we've got the website up, we have successfully hid it from our parents, and we have registered and a bank account. So next thing that we needed to do was get people to come to the site. So now, from McDonald's, we had saved a little bit of money, and my friend Hussein, he used to work at a hardware store, so we had saved a little bit of money, and we decided to put an ad out in the newspaper. That ad cost $1,300. Yeah. You gotta come with me everywhere I go. Okay, so how many people do you think actually showed up for a $1,300 ad? How many? Yeah, close. 6 people. We had 6 people come to our website. And a very high attrition rate. We only got 2 people to sign up. So we had spent all of our money on this stupid ad. We had 6 people show up. We had 2 people sign up. We had a total of 2 users and 2 websites. Huge, huge embarrassment. So we needed to start to do some guerrilla marketing. And so we started telling all of our friends about it, started to go online, and started posting. We started posting and promoting the site, and pretty soon people started to come and people started to sign up. And what happened was anytime someone would sign up for a website, we'd have a big link at the top that said, sign up for your own free website. So pretty soon people are seeing this and people are starting to sign up. Now, what happens when you get customers is that you need to provide customer service, right? Something that I learned at McDonald's. And what I had to do was I had a cell phone and I had this girl that I was dating at the time record this message on the phone. Now, as you can imagine, as a 15-year-old, you don't really want your customers thinking that their business is in the hands of 2 little kids. 2 15-year-olds, one with a very bushy beard. So we had this message that was recorded on the phone. So anytime someone would call, I would say, thank you for calling Mail BC. That was the site's name, Mail BC. All of our operators are currently busy. If you would like to leave a message, one of our operators will return your call shortly. And so what would happen was I would be sitting in class, my cell phone would go off, I'd put my hand up and say, teacher, I have to go to the bathroom. Go outside, I would go to the bathroom. And go into the stall, which was my office. So the stall was my first office. And I'd sit in there, I'd call the voicemail up, get the number of the person and the name, and then I'd call them back. Now what happened was, I was really worried again about people knowing that these 15-year-old guys were running this website. So every time I would call a customer to help them fix their problem, I would use a different name. And so, I would start with kind of more generic names. Hello, thank you for calling, this is Bob speaking. And then I started getting more creative, like, thank you for calling, this is Cletus, how can I help you? And then I remember that this one time, I'm calling this customer back, and the phone is ringing, and I realized that I have run out of all possible names I could come up with. And I was so startled. The person answers the phone, and they go, hello, and so I go, oh, hello, thank you for calling, this is Hilda speaking. And I had to keep this really high-pitched voice the entire time while troubleshooting this website. Thankfully, it was a really easy question, and I was able to solve it in about 5 minutes. Because I was so sure that I was going to drop into this voice from like, hello, this is Hilda, to like, hello, this is Hilda. And that would have been really, really, really awkward, right? So, as you can imagine, putting your hand up to go to the bathroom is something that we just do, right? I mean, whether we really have to go to the bathroom or not, I feel like in every class we should take our opportunity to go to the bathroom at least once. I agree completely. Now, the problem is that if you ask to go to the bathroom once in a class, that's normal. If you start to ask to go to the bathroom more than once in a class, your teachers will start thinking that there's something wrong with you. So one day what happens is, I come home, and you know what normally happens when you come home, right? Like you get home, you take your shoes off, and you basically run up the stairs and go to your room, right? You get on the computer. So I did my normal routine. I got home, hi mom, hi dad, take my shoes off, go up to my room, and as I'm like halfway up the stairs, I hear, Rahim, get down here. Now, this happened, I wasn't the most perfect kid, so I got in trouble. I had heard my dad use that tone of voice. What I had never seen before was when I walked into the living room, my mom and dad were sitting in the living room together on the couch looking at each other. Now, my mom and dad did not sit together looking at each other very often. So when I see them, it totally spooked me out. So I'm thinking, oh my God, something is up. So I'm standing there and go, hello, hello, what's up? And my dad just looks over at my mom and he says, we know. And I go, huh? And my dad goes, the principal called today. What? The principal called? How does the principal even have our number? See, my dad was going to school every week to take my attendance, right? That must have been what it was. So he says, I'm not going to do the accent anymore because I do it terribly, and my parents get really, really mad when I do this. So I'm going to stop doing the fake husky Indian accent. But just follow along if you can. So my dad says, your principal called today, and he said that you're missing a lot of class. Which was true. I was maybe missing 5 classes a week at that time because our servers would go down. And when our servers went down, I had to go downtown and I had to reset the servers. So there was no Amazon Web Services or anything like that back then. And I had to go physically down and reboot my servers. Which meant that I had to take 3 buses to get downtown to go to the data center, take 2 transfers. It was a very, very difficult job. And so I ended up missing a little bit of class. So my dad's like, principal called, says that you're missing a lot of class. So I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, okay. And he said, is that true? I said, yeah, I may have missed a class or 2. Now again, I had no idea he was checking on my attendance. Not until after I graduated. Right? So I'm like, class or 2, maybe here or there. Give or take, average, approximately. And so he said, yeah, your principal said that you are not only missing a lot of class, that the teachers are saying that you are getting out of class sometimes once, sometimes twice. Sometimes once, sometimes twice. So I'm thinking, that's true, I sometimes have to get out of class. And so my dad says, is that true? I said, yeah, I have to leave the class sometimes. And then he said, the teacher says that you're walking around with a cell phone all the time. You're always on your phone? And I said, yeah, that's true. So then my mom goes, Rahim, we know. So I'm thinking, oh my God. So seriously, after getting the website up, hiding it from them is Operation Thundercat for at least 6 or 7 months. Spending all this money on these ads that got us 6 people, running all this guerrilla marketing, telling all our friends, starting to get a few thousand people using the site, providing customer service, having to pretend like I'm this Midwest, this female mother, this mother in the Midwest, Hilda. My parents have figured it out. And I'm like completely devastated because I knew what was happening. I knew it was going to come, right? Right? Belt or the slipper, right? I'm freaking out because I hate that belt or the slipper. I hate that choice that I have to make, the belt or the slipper. It's such a hard choice. It always hurts so much. So my dad goes, Rahim, we know. We know what you've been up to, Rahim. We know. I go, oh my God. Rahim, we know you're getting the drugs. What? Dealing the drugs? Now, parents are Indian, so they said, you are dealing the drugs. So, man, dealing the drugs? So I'm standing there completely, astonished. Out of my mind, right? Imagine I'm running this site, this business, which has real customers, and my parents think that I'm selling drugs. Now the problem was, I had a couple of choices. I could tell them that I was running the business, and we already know what would happen if I told them I was running the business, right? Or I could come up with some kind of creative idea for why I was missing class and had to leave class sometimes once, sometimes twice. So I'm standing there thinking about which one I'm going to choose. And finally my dad says, so what's going on? And I said, I think I have a urinary infection. So now my parents think that I have a problem with my bladder. Which is a lot easier problem to have. And they did send me to the doctor. But I was okay, in case you're wondering. So now the business lives yet another day, right? So now we're at the end of the year, and we've got about 20,000 customers. Pretty cool, right? And the actual office was a post box in the mall, where I used to spend a lot of time outside of the bathroom. I spent a lot of time in the mall. And I would go to the post office box to pick up all the checks. And pretty soon I was picking up more and more checks. And one day I get an email from a company that says that they want to learn more about the business and they want to do a partnership with us. So I set up a phone call and I talked to this company, and it turns out that they're actually interested in buying the company. Now, I had no idea what this meant, right? Because if you think about it, just like recently I was fired at McDonald's, and now all of a sudden somebody says that they are interested in buying the company. And my parents still don't know. So we start talking and I tell them about the business, and then they send over a document to negotiate the price of the company. They send this document over, and I've never read a legal document in my life. Ever. Ever. So I figured that I should talk to a lawyer, right? Because lawyers are smart. So I look up, I don't know any lawyers. I don't know if you guys know any lawyers when you're, I mean, I have no idea. You guys know some lawyers? Not your dad or your mom. You have your own lawyer? I want to talk to you afterwards. I want to know what you guys are up to, because you guys are going to be here pretty soon. So I look up the first lawyer, Abrams & Abrams, and I call them up and I say, hello, my name is Rahim. I'm the CEO of LBC. I'm interested in your services. So they said, well, what kind of services? I said, well, this company in LA is looking to buy my company, and they just sent me a document, and I would like for you to help me negotiate it. So they said, we would be happy to do that for you. And I said, excellent. When can I come? And he said, well, let us first talk to you about our rates. Like, rates? What is this guy talking about? So I said, okay, well, what are your rates? And he said, $600 an hour. I said, what? $600 an hour? I was not getting $600 a month at McDonald's. $600 an hour. I couldn't even count up to 600. So I said, listen, I'm sorry, I just cannot afford this. So he said, well, you know what? Here at Abrams & Abrams, we really believe in our service. So we will offer you a 1-hour free consultation. So I said, free consultation? I like that word. So I went downtown. I take 3 buses, 2 transfers. May or may not have had to leave class to do that. And I did. And I go and meet this lawyer. And so the lawyer sits down, he looks at the document, and he tells me that they're going to review it. He tells me a few things that are wrong with it. We could improve. I was like, this is awesome. Free is so amazingly awesome. And that night, they emailed me back a copy of the document with a bunch of changes. So here I'm thinking, what a stupid lawyer. So I take the document and I send it over to the company, and I said, listen, we're ready to sell. I made some changes. My legal counsel made some changes, and here they are. And so Hussein and I, we are like celebrating. We are so excited. By that time, his bushy beard had grown a little bit bushier. And turns out, 2 days later, the company sent me an email back with more changes. thinking, more changes? Oh man, I don't have $600. How am I going to pay this lawyer for all of his time. So I look up the next lawyer under A. And I called Adams. And I talked to Mr. Adams and I say, "Sir, I'm the CEO of this company. There's a company in LA that's wanting to buy us. I don't know who you are. In fact, I've never met you. I don't even know if I can trust you. Do you happen to have this thing called a 1-hour free consultation?" And he said, "Yes, we believe in our service. We will give you a 1-hour free consultation." So I'm like, sweet. So I might just have to skip class again. I go downtown, I take the document with me, I give it to the lawyer, they make some more changes, they send it back to me. I send it to the company in LA. I think we're done. 2 days later, they send me it back with more changes. So what do I do? So, we went through 9 different lawyers for 9 free consultations. And we sold the company for $1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
It was absolutely crazy. So, we sell the company, and now I have to figure out what I'm going to tell my parents. So here's what happens. The day before this newspaper article comes out, it's on the front page in color, with this car that couldn't even drive. And I tell my parents, I have something to talk to you about. So my dad and my mom look at me and they say, "You're dealing the drugs." And I'm like, "No, I'm not dealing the drugs. I'm not dealing drugs." Sit down, I want to tell you guys something. So I explained the whole story to them, told them what happened. I said, "Listen, tomorrow there might be some news that comes out in the newspaper, and I just want to tell you that we're rich." And it was the day that ended up changing my life. So I thought that I will, I'll end with just sharing with you a few points that I took away from this experience. Okay, so the first one, as you can see, despite what I said about hiding everything, especially the truth, from my parents, one of the best things I realized after the situation was how many mistakes I made and how much easier it would have been on my life had I told my parents what I was doing. Now, they may have hit me, but those wounds would have healed. And I'm sure they would have healed. And I still have a few wounds actually that have not healed, but that's another story for another presentation. So the first thing is really to get down with mom, dad, and suits. And what I realized through so when I was in high school, I was a rebel. I tried to keep everything I possibly could away from my parents. I didn't believe that adults had any value to me whatsoever, except maybe giving you a ride to the library when you want to watch a presentation on a Friday night, right? And I realized much later that the adults in your life can be extremely, extremely helpful to you. And not only that, but they really, really like to give advice. So the best thing that you can do as a student who's trying to figure out what the world is all about is to ask the adults in your life questions, because they love to talk. Trust me. Now I could say, love to talk. Adults love to talk. And now I actually talk to my parents about pretty much everything. The second thing is to get a crew. So I used to hang out with some of the biggest idiots, like in school. They were so stupid in many, many ways. What I've realized now through starting these businesses is that it really helps when you have a good crew of people around you. So there's this great quote that I heard a little while ago, which is that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So I would think about that. Exclude your parents, but you don't want to make a judgment there. But think about the 5 people that you hang around with the most, who you spend the most time with, and think about whether that's bringing you up or whether that's bringing you down. The third thing is to get a life. Now, you guys have a long way to go. Because again, you are at a public library on a Friday night, listening to me talk. Even my own girlfriend does not do that. So, one of the things I think is really important as you think about joining the adult world, whether you want to run a business or whether you want to join join a company or whatever it is that you want to do in your life, one of the best things that you can do is to keep balance. And as much time as you spend studying, as much time as you spend doing extracurriculars, as much time as you spend doing after-school prep, it is really, really important to have fun. And make sure that you guys keep some time to be able to do that, because it's one of the things that will make you a great entrepreneur and it'll make you a great adult. The fourth one is get smart with money. How many of you have your own money here? Huh? That's what I'm talking about. Now, you know what's odd? All of you guys put your hand up saying that you have your own money, yet none of you guys work. What the hell? Okay, so that's kind of odd. Now, I'm not going to ask you where you guys are getting your money, what you guys are selling. I'm not going to ask you guys what you're selling, because I didn't appreciate that question when I was a teenager, so I'm not going to ask it to you. Whatever you guys are selling, you guys are selling. I don't want to know. But one of the most important things that you can do is to get smart with money. As a business owner, there's this great saying, which is that cash flow is more important than your mother. Not my mother, not your mother, as many of your mothers are here, but just the general mother community. Okay? And what I can never understand is how people want to start running their own business, but they have no idea how to run their own finances. They have no idea how to budget at all. So the one thing I would really, really recommend you guys do, and this is a good place to talk to your parents and talk to other people around you, is to get really smart with money. Just get better managing your own money. Okay? And the last thing is to get going. Now, you have these friends, you guys are all really, really smart and talented, and I've already talked to a few of you, and you're talking about starting businesses early, which I think is really, really great. But you have that friend of yours that always has these great ideas about everything. He's got like a million ideas about like what the next Facebook is going to be. Yeah? But then that same person is always complaining about how life sucks, and that things are never ever going their way, and that they tried to do something, but then they didn't have the money, or they blamed it because they didn't have enough time, or whatever. They blamed it on like their brother or sister or whatever. Okay, those are the same people that are going to be complaining about things not working right in the future. So, when you think about those people who have all of those ideas, but then on the weekend all they're doing is playing Xbox, there's nothing wrong with playing Xbox, but all they do is play Xbox. Stay away from those people. Because the best thing that you can do is actually get going. And whatever idea that you have, whatever you want to do, whether it's business related or it's a big, whether you want to get involved in something nonprofit related, whether you want to get involved in your community, whatever it is, whatever you want to change in the world, whatever it is that you want to do, don't listen to the people who sit around with these wonderful ideas and complain but never actually put anything into action. Get started today. Get started immediately. I'll leave you with this great quote that has meant a lot to me and something I think about all the time. Now, have you guys ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese? Yeah? Okay, good. So the founder of Chuck E. Cheese, I met him one day, and I asked him, what's the best piece of advice that you can give me? And he said, Rahim, the true entrepreneur is a doer, not a dreamer. All right, thank you guys. I don't know if they want to do questions or not. Yeah? A couple of questions? Okay, so we got a time for a few questions. Any questions? Don't be shy, yeah?
Have you considered going into politics?
Have I considered going into politics? I've considered it. Given my record, no. No, I actually have thought about politics. And I am currently working on a political campaign actually for a fellow who was the former chief technology officer for the White House, who's now running for lieutenant governor in Virginia. It's fun. It's really fun to help him with his technology decisions. But I don't know, for me right now, I think that, I have a really big vision for what I want to do and how I want to make an impact in the world. And I feel like I can make a bigger impact in the business world than I can in the public world. I just feel like, you have, regardless of how you lean politically, but, last couple of years I've really been, 4 or 5 years I've been really inspired by Obama. And I feel Obama is such a great person. He's got such a big vision. But every time he tries to do anything, everyone just gets down on him. And he's got such a hard role to play. It's so difficult and so hard to make change. And so I think I'm going to stay in the business world as long as I can. It's a good question. Yeah?
So you mentioned your first company and the web hosting company, and you also talked a bit about Devolver. So what was your second company about?
So the second company was it was a company that helped other businesses run their business online really easy. So not just websites, but things like contact management and different business applications. And we actually ended up taking that company public on my 20th birthday. It was an absolute disaster. It was a huge failure. So what ended up happening was, Hussein and I, so first of all, we had a little bit of money. Second of all, we really enjoyed, having fun, and so we would go to Vegas. We would go to Las Vegas quite a lot before we were 21. And what we ended up doing was actually setting up our business in Las Vegas. So, because we had this idea, because we thought we were so smart, that way it would be easier to go down to Vegas all the time because we could tell our parents that we were going there for our meetings, to go see our office. But in truth, we really weren't doing very much work when we were down there. And there are a lot of other reasons, but we ended, when you're young and you do well, for some people who are not as wise as you guys here in the room who are all doing very well, we had really big egos. And we thought we were so smart and we knew everything, and we'd sold this company. We didn't need to go to college or anything. And we knew everything that we needed to know about business. And we ended up falling flat on our face. It was a huge failure. It was almost as traumatic as getting fired from McDonald's. Almost as traumatic as getting fired from McDonald's. Anybody else? Yes?
So you said that you sold your last company in December of last year. So are you working on anything?
So am I working on anything right now? So since there may be some people who work at Oracle in the room, I should tell you that I am working full-time for Oracle right now, and I'm very happy being there. And but at the same time, being in Silicon Valley, you get surrounded by you're surrounded by a lot of really smart people and a lot of really great ideas. And as you know from my background, I like to put ideas into action. So while I don't really have any ideas right now, I am, spending a lot of time talking to people, talking to students. I keynoted the MIT Business Line competition a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago. I met with a lot of engineering students there and just talk about different ideas. So not yet, but I feel like it's in my blood, so it's going to be hard for me not to start another company. Yeah.
What was your last company and how much did you sell it for?
So the question was, what's the company and how much we sell it for? So the company was called Involver, and it was an enterprise software company which helped brands like Best Buy and Nike and others run marketing campaigns on Facebook. We had about over 1 million customers using the platform, including Facebook itself. And then we ended up selling it to Oracle in the summer. Price cannot share, because if any of you have met Larry Ellison or seen him on television, he has a very strong headlock that he can put you in. And you don't want to mess around with Larry. Yeah.
Why don't you write a book about your experiences?
Wow. Great question. No, seriously, great question. I really want to do that. And I'm kind of breaking my own rule. The 5th rule that I said, put your ideas into action. So I've had this idea of wanting to write a book for some time. And I've been really busy with the business. What a terrible excuse. Can you believe this? Here I am. I spent all this time telling you guys, don't give any excuses. So one of the nice things now because I ran Involver for 5.5 years, one of the nice things now is that I have a little bit of time to do this type of stuff. So that is one of the things that I am thinking about doing. Yes?
Do you have any plans to move into the VC or entrepreneurial world?
Sorry, who's talking?
There.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
So, do you have any plans to move into the entrepreneurial or VC world, or do you want to stay in just run businesses?
I really, really, really enjoy starting businesses and rolling my sleeves up and taking things from concept into reality. So I think for the time being I'm going to stay an entrepreneur. Yeah, I think it's a very different world to be an investor. I don't know if I'm quite cut out for it. It was in the blue hoodie.
Did you have to make any sacrifices to start these businesses, and how did you confront your emotional challenges to make these sacrifices, and what sacrifices did you make?
Yeah, so what sacrifices did I make? I made a lot of sacrifices, actually, because when you start a company, it's like it ends up consuming you. It ends up becoming. It really ends up taking a lot of your heart, your heart and your soul, in order to really be successful at it and focus on it. The first company was actually pretty easy in that way because we didn't really think of it being a legitimate business. It was just a hobby. It was just something that we did on the side to make a little bit of money because we couldn't get a job anywhere else. And the last company, Involver, it was a lot more difficult because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Here in the Valley, we talk about how amazing it is to be an entrepreneur, but it's really, really, really hard, and you end up having to sacrifice a lot. Your personal relationships with your friends, you don't see them. Your family, it's hard to talk to them all the time because you're always so busy. You don't get to travel. As a startup entrepreneur, you don't usually make a lot of money in the beginning. So you have to change your quality of life. When I finished my MBA and I moved down here 6 years ago, I lived in Palo Alto next to the Apple Store in a room that was 200 square feet. So probably smaller than your bedrooms. And that wasn't just my bedroom where I slept. That was where my kitchen was. I had a living room there. I had a TV there. I had my computer. I could only invite one friend over at a time because you couldn't fit 3 people in that room. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. And the way that I dealt with it was really thinking, I talked a little bit about my parents, and For me, I realized that the way, as I said earlier, the way to make an impact on the world is through entrepreneurship. And I remembered like the sacrifices that my parents made, even sacrifices that your parents are making for you today, right? For you to go to school, for you to go to these amazing schools that you go to do all the amazing extracurriculars that you do, the great vacations, holidays that you take. I mean, these all take sacrifices on your parents' part. I didn't really appreciate any of those sacrifices at the time. But then, as I got older, and through my second company especially, and especially my third company, started to appreciate those things a lot more and realized that I had to keep going. I had to overcome any of the struggles or the failures that I had because I had a responsibility to my family. And because of the sacrifices they made, I needed to really focus to make sure that I made the most of the opportunities that I did have. Yes?
When did you start your first company again?
So we sold the company to, and I'll do just one quick one after this, yeah. Sold the company to a media company in LA. And like a lot of companies in the dot-com era, if you remember the dot-com or have heard of it, yes, maybe, kind of, look on Wikipedia. That company didn't actually end up surviving much further after. Thankfully, they paid us, but after that, they didn't last for too long. So I got one more, right time for one more question. There was one here. Yes, go ahead.
What did you have to do to be able to get the attention of many people? Of your company, effectively to sell your product.
So I can answer this in many different ways, but I'll give you a short answer, just in terms of consideration of time. Especially for the young people in this room who want to start businesses but feel like you're too young. You're never too young to start a business. I think you can learn a great deal from it. It doesn't have to be big, but it can be a great experience to do on the side. Use your age to your advantage. So when I was 15, we needed to register the business, which meant Hussein had to grow the bushy beard. Remember that bushy beard? Like a chia pet beard? Well, a couple years later, we realized that the best thing to do was actually to embrace how young we were and to make that an advantage. And what I find now is that people really, really give you a lot of respect when they see someone young who is trying so hard to do something. And your age will actually separate you from a lot of the people in the pack. For Involver, I was easily the youngest CEO in the competitive set by a lot, by 10 or 12 years. But, I didn't have all the experience that everybody else had, but I used the advantages, the unique things that I did have about me. And one of them was that I actually was on Facebook. I actually have friends on Facebook, whereas, my older competitors didn't have a clue about what Facebook was, right? They didn't have a clue about Facebook. They just called it the Facebook. So use your age to your advantage. That's probably the best thing I can tell you. So thank you guys. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can do so on Twitter @RahimTheDream. And I'm happy to follow up with any of you guys as well. Thank you guys.